Elon's tease is having pretty much the expected result. The excitement about FSD 14 could be the reason, or maybe it's the realization that the biggest product in history of the world is making progress. That would be Optimus. But for whatever reason this morning, Tesla is up nicely. Betting markets show there's an 89% chance that Elon Musk's pay package will be approved. That could be the reason. Maybe that's not it. But that is definitely a nice number to see. So what is causing Tesla to be up this morning? Well, President Trump is considering a relaxation of the vehicle import tariffs for cars that do or car companies that do final assembly in the U.S. I asked Grok, and Grok said it was hard to determine the total impact of that, but it's probably not huge. I think it's going to apply primarily to the parts in the vehicle itself, not any parts for anything else that Tesla does, but parts in the vehicle. And Tesla's had mentioned at their earnings call, I think two earnings calls, I think at the first quarter earnings call, that there was an impact from the tariffs that have been imposed so far, and it was in the billions, but this would be a small reduction of that. Again, I don't think we're talking about huge money, but hey, it's a nice thing to have. I don't think that's what's causing the stock to go up this morning. I'm pretty sure it's a combination of FSD coming out today and the potential for the Model Q coming out tomorrow. And then the question becomes, what if the Model Q doesn't come out tomorrow? What if it turns out to be the Roadster or an HVAC? Will we come back down 2 or 3% tomorrow if on Wednesday if we're disappointed in what the big reveal is on Tuesday afternoon? Or will there be a sell on the news anyway? Gary Black continues to say that if it's merely a reduction in price on a stripped down Model Y, that he doesn't consider that to be catalytic at all. And I have maybe my largest disagreement with Gary Black ever. And he and I don't always see eye to eye, but he's kindly come on the show a couple of times and we've talked about some of those issues. But if it either creates a new TAM or it doesn't, I don't care if it was a completely different form factor and it was 25,000. Now it could be a completely different form factor, that was so ugly that nobody'd want it, or that had, really bad, kind of features and benefits that nobody would want, and it could be 25,000 or 29,000, which we all thought it might be originally. In this particular case, I think we've done our homework here. I think we've really looked at it carefully. I think it's going to be 35,000 when it does come out. I think it will be a fine looking vehicle because, it's got the same design team. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And I think that there's a bunch of folks that have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and they're, if they can buy the thing for 35,000, they're going to be getting ready to do that, and they would not have been buyers at 42,000, or maybe not even at 37,005, which I guess is kind of where we were with the $7,500 credit last week. Anyway, that's kind of where we are on this whole thing right now. Whatever it is, the stock is up this morning in the 440s. It has been as high as around 445, I think, as it was the high for the morning. But anyway, we'll look at those details in the morning. I'm sorry, later in the morning. By the way, this is all the news there was to print with regard to Tesla this morning. I went every place I normally go, and there just isn't a lot of news today, but there's more news coming. This is Randy Kirk. You know exactly what you should do right now. Like, subscribe, you know, join Patreon. The big news today, actually, the biggest news of the morning is all about AMD and OpenAI. Sam Altman, he's getting to be as much of a headline hog as Elon Musk. It seems like every day there's some kind of activity where OpenAI is doing something with regard to something somewhere. Anyway, what it is today is OpenAI has made an investment in AMD. Barron's says it this way. OpenAI plans to deploy 6 gigawatts worth of AMD Instinct Graphics Processing Units, or GPUs, over the course of the partnership. This is a partnership, they're calling it. The first 1 gigawatt deployment will begin in the second half of 2026, according to the companies. As part of the agreement, OpenAI received a warrant to purchase up to 160 million shares of AMD stock at 1 cent each. If issued in full, those shares would represent about 9% ownership of AMD at current float. The warrants expire October 5th of 2030. That'll probably turn out to be a good deal. This partnership is a major step in building a compute capacity needed to realize AI's full potential, according to Sam. AMD's leadership in high-performance chips will enable us to accelerate progress and bring the benefits of advanced AI to everyone faster. Says this move comes just weeks after OpenAI made AMD competitor NVIDIA the preferred compute and networking partner for a planned AI data center expansion and agreed to deploy at least 10 gigs of NVIDIA AI systems. Earlier in September, Broadcom shares rose when the chip maker announced the $10 billion order for AI chips from a new customer, which the Wall Street Journal reported was OpenAI. So people are concerned that this is a circular business, that everybody's just buying from everybody and buying shares in stock instead of selling product. Well, with the margins that NVIDIA has and the margins that OpenAI have, the margins that AMD probably, anyway, it's probably going to be okay. Now, some of those margins might come down someday, but I'm of the opinion, based on a tremendous amount of time invested in looking at this. Uh, you know where that time is? Oh, yeah, the time is Brian Wang told me. Anyway, that no, and not just Brian Wang. I'm talking about so many of the tech geniuses out there right now that I'm listening to say, no, there's an almost unlimited demand for these chips. Dan Ives says it this way. He says, with a 10% stake in AMD, this quickly brings Lisa Su at AMD and AMD right into the core of the AI chip spending cycle and is a huge vote of confidence from OpenAI and Altman. Any lingering fears around AMD should now be thrown out the window. Major validation moment for AMD. Okay, so there you go. You have it from Dan Ives as well. Now, you know who AJ, I mean, EJ, the real EJ Antoni. You know who he is now, right? I mean, this is the guy who was potentially going to become the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics at the U.S. government. Trump had brought him in and put him forward as the guy who was going to do that. Well, that deal fell apart. And so the real EJ Antoni is back posting on X now. And he says this morning that the Dallas Fed says this, the service sector activity slowed last month. We saw that also in some other reporting as outlook deteriorated while employment and revenue fell slightly. Input and output inflation both moderated. There you go. Inflation moderated, but the former remains elevated. The former would be input inflation. On the upside, capital expenditures grew faster. That's what we've been reporting. And long-term forecasts improved. So that's all sounding like more or less what we've been saying. With the government shutdown comes very little reporting, though, on this is Randy now again. This is me talking, not EJ. With the government shutdown comes very little reporting on economic news. And with equity markets at all-time highs and stretched in valuations, I think you could kind of expect not very much movement in the markets. In other words, you've got not very much news, so there's no news sending the markets up or down in a major way. And then in addition to that, you got the markets really stretched. We're talking about stretched S&P. The PE on the S&P is really at record highs. You just never see these PEs at these numbers. Now, Tom Lee would tell you that if you go in and you go the equal weighted PEs, they're not quite as crazy. And that's why he sees that they're still, well, that's why he saw, well, no, he is saying that we're still going to go to 7,000 this year. I, of course, am saying we're going to 7,100. So he and I are not that far off a few percentage points. Well, I decided that we needed to talk to Grok about this because earnings season's about to start. And what the pundits will tell you is that the companies on the S&P now need to grow into that elevated PE, which I think is around 24%. I mean, 24 now. The multiple is 24. And so now these earnings, reports need to grow into that. Well, I asked Grok what impact it would have if we do get another 10% reporting month, 10% higher. And Grok says that will impact the PE by about 2 points. So if we're right now around 24, it would drop to around 22. Guess what? 22 is still super high by historic standards. So yeah, there is. Will we be able to sustain these kind of numbers going forward? That's a good question. Let's put it this way. I think it's going to get harder and harder for the S&P to get these kind of gains. Then there's gold. I decided I wanted to say something about gold this morning. The first principles approach to any kind of trade, I don't care whether you're trading gold, whether you're trading bonds, I don't care what you're talking about. One of the first things you need to look at is what is the potential for going higher? How much higher? Okay, so if we're sitting at almost 4,000 on gold right now, how much higher could it go? Could it go to 5,000? Could it go to 6,000? Is the real, now this is what's in your mind, okay, based on your research. Is 4,000 really like a crazy number already? Or, is there a chance it goes to 5? So if there's a chance it goes to 5, which would be crazy, okay, a chance it goes to 5 over the next year, that would be a 20% increase, right? No, that'd be a 25% increase. So 25% increase. If you really think it goes to 5, a 25% increase is pretty darn good. But then you have to look at what are the chances of it falling from its perch and taking a tumble because it's gone up crazy fast, gone up really too far, too fast, in my humble opinion. So where Larry wanted us to bail out back around 3,300, he has changed his tune, and I think right now I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he was agreeing with me the other day that maybe 4,000 is going to be that bridge too far. It's going to be a ceiling where the market goes. I don't know. That's a round number. You know how the markets are with round numbers. Anyway, it's been going up, and also what's another kind of indication? It's been going up fast. Really fast recently. Okay, so that sounds like, folks that are, ask your hairdresser, has she bought any gold lately? If your hairdresser has bought any gold lately, or your Uber driver, that's a certainty that it's time to get out. Anyway, I'm calling, I don't make many calls. I'm saying gold retreats from 4,000. We'll go a little above 4,000 maybe. I think it retreats from 4,000. By the way, we are also right up against my 4.15 on bonds this morning. Once again, it is boom, boom, boom is right at 4.15. And, question is, can it get past that? What about the president's standing this morning? Well, he's at 46%, which is not good, but it's at the bottom of the range, which he's been since he's been in office. And of course, with all the stuff that's going on right now, maybe that's not surprising, although you'd think that his activities with regard to the Gaza peace plan would cause some people to think, hey, maybe he's pretty good, maybe he's doing a pretty good job. But right now he's at 46%. And we've got from Trueflation this morning, we're at 2.22 on the overnights and 2.10 in terms of year over year. Both of those are fine. Again, I hate to keep saying this, but don't forget to subtract 0.4, which in both cases would put us well under 2% with regard to inflation right now. And then we continue to have the GDP now at 3.8 until I think tomorrow morning is when they will revise that number. We won't be able to report it tomorrow morning, have to report it either later in the day or Wednesday. All right, so what's happening right now? Tesla is going to go back and test the 444 range. We bounced down to that 440 overall. We're sitting at 443.78, which is up 3.24. The high this morning actually was 447. So that would signify to me that if we were as high as 447 this morning, that the 444 number is no longer an issue. There was so many stopping points along the way now that it's hard to know which one of these is next without asking some of my technical experts. So, and this is not the day when we have technical experts on. We got Larry and Brian White. Maybe I'll ask Brian Wang during the day, and he can give me his analysis. But I think the way the stock is directionally right now, we could be up from here, I would say. But again, it might have to do. FSD maybe is going to be rolling out sometime later today. It would take a couple of hours for people to upload it, go out and do videos. So maybe by the time I talk to Larry, we will have some of that. We'll see what happens. All right, let's see here. What else is going on? As I mentioned, not much for the markets are not going to move much with no news and no economic news. It's going to be hard for the markets to really do much moving around. So we've got the Dow down 0.43, but coming back up again towards the green. We got the Nasdaq super flat, up 0.40, S&P up 0.19. All of them just going kind of, well, the Dow down and then back up a little bit, but the other two are super flat at those minor adjustments. We've got the Magnificent Seven, except for Tesla and Microsoft, all down this morning, including, as mentioned, NVIDIA down a little bit, probably somewhat down to 1.12. But I mean, the AMD news doesn't seem to be impacting NVIDIA very much. It's only down 1.112. We got the VIX, though, up a little bit strongly this morning, 16.99, 16 point, where my eyeballs just went across, 16.92, almost 17. Now, that's still bullish. That would still be risk on, but it is higher than it has been recently. And maybe that's concerns about the shutdown. I don't think so. Anyway, we got Cathie Woods are almost all up this morning. Everything but TDOC, which is down strongly, 2.39%, but everything else is up actually pretty strongly this morning, which is unusual because the bonds are also up strongly this morning, 2.7 basis points, but after being slightly above 4.15 for a minute, it's back down to 4.146. So I'm going to continue to say that 4.15 is a barrier it will not cross. And I mean, again, it did for 3 days, barely, but I think that was just a mistake. We've got oil up 71 more cents this morning, recovering after being down almost to $61.59 now. And natural gas up a full point again, $3.36. Gold, okay, here we go. We're 62 up today. See what I'm talking about? This is a little crazy. 1.59% at 3,971. So I'm calling a cap at 4,000, and I think we'll see a sell-off, maybe a good 10 to 20% sell-off. It won't happen like a rock, but it might go down fast because it came up so fast. Silver up 1 full percent at 48.47, also a record. And again, if gold is coming down, silver is going to come down even faster. Copper is down 1% to $5.06. And again, this is all, I think, related to a supply problem. And we got the dollar mixed. Do I say every day? Do I say dollar mixed? And we've got Bitcoin up 2,348 at 125,000. And so that would be an all-time high. Ethereum, Ethernet. Why don't they change the name? It'd be so much easier for me. 3.91% up this morning, 4,674, also an all-time high. So do we agree with Tom Lee that it's going, both of these are going to double yet this year, or go up substantially yet this year? Or do we think that this is Also getting a little crazy, a little too far out there. I don't know. I really don't. Okay. All right. So that's what we've got so far today. We've got Larry Goldberg probably at about 3:30, going early today. Then that means Brian White will probably also be early, probably about 7 o'clock. And then last night I did a special, a unique special where I talked about the baby boomers. You're probably one or nearly one. Anyway, the baby boomers' impact on the markets, the baby boomers' impact on the economy, and also we talking about some of these extremes. What do these extremes really mean? Are they justified like gold? Some of them might be, some of them might not be. We talked about two of them this morning, S&P and gold, and silver, actually three. So anyway, I would highly recommend, really highly recommend you go back and look if you didn't already check that out. There's the card. I think that you will be interested in that. In addition, many of you already did watch Larry and we did our thing with Cathie Wood, the Cathie Wood analysis. We did that Sunday morning because that was the first chance we had. If you didn't get a chance to look at that, I'll put a card for that as well. All right, so one last look at Tesla to see what's going on here. And Tesla is now still almost where it was, 443.20, thinking about 444, thinking about going back up above that. We'll see, because 440 and 444 were both kind of technical breaking points. All right, that's all I got for you right now. Until later with Larry, it's been great talking to you.